Joining us in the Movieland Spotlight this month is Ryan Bellgardt, a director from Oklahoma City. Thank you so much for joining us, buddy. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me and taking the time to talk movies with me.
100% excited for it. Now, you have a new movie that's being released on DVD in Australia, Jurassic Games Extinction, which is a sequel to another film simply titled Jurassic Games. Now, imagine it's a movie night. How do you pitch this movie for us for something to watch?
Wow, I thought my days of having to pitch these movie ideas were over. Hey, well, I mean, it's just us like trying to have fun with the crazy ideas of death row inmates having to fight for their lives against dinosaurs, and really, the story goes back to the first one when I had my sales agent who was working with me on other projects came to me and said, my buyers want a movie with dinosaurs and convicts. And he was like, just put them on an island somewhere and have them chasing around. And I was just like, can I like think about that for a second? And what I decided to add to it, which I thought was kind of fun, was an element of kind of a dystopian futuristic TV show kind of idea, like The Running Man or something, And
Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of a fun idea. It's like, let's have them like, pitted against, each other for the stakes. What are the stakes involved here? And, if we do sort of in the first movie, we do sort of it's a futuristic sort of, post-apocalyptic idea where we're watching, death row inmates get the justice they deserve for entertainment on live television, and it's sort of a comment and a satire about that really more than it was about dinosaurs. But I kind of like snuck that in there. And I think people responded to the first one that way. And so in the second movie, we got a chance to do another one. And in the second one, I really like to lean into the video game aspect of it more, because in the first movie, there's dinosaurs chasing guys around in virtual reality. But in this one, I was like, I mean, if you're familiar with the first one, you kind of remember how it might end. And it kind of teases an idea that was really just sort of a throwaway idea where we're just like, how cool would it be to have, dinosaurs with lasers and whatever missile launchers on their back. And then we're like, well, hey, in this next movie, let's actually follow up on that. And so, I just lean way more into the idea of the video game aspect of it, so there's like power ups and lasers and, all kinds of the players. The big difference is that in the second movie, the players can play as dinosaurs. So they power up and change into them and fight each other as dinosaurs, which I had not seen done before, and I think a long answer to your question, but if I were to pitch this to somebody, I'd say like, hey, if you like the idea of people turning into dinosaurs and fighting for their lives in a virtual reality video game with, everything from flaming swords to, rocket launchers, then you might like this. It's just fun. It's just meant to be fun,
Yeah, it sounds a lot of fun. And I think Dr. Evil would approve of this with dinosaurs with lasers. Like, you got me sharks with lasers?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm guessing there's a lot of influences here. Like, I don't know, just like from the outside perspective, you said Running Man, but I'm thinking Hunger Games, The Condemned, Ready Player One, or heck, let's address the elephant in the room. Should I say dinosaur? Jurassic Park influence. So, Is that heavily an influence behind this one? I know you say the studio kind of pitched this for you, but what would you say?
Well, there? When I was in high school, Jurassic Park came out, right, in the theaters. So that was like 93 or whatever, 92. So I can remember skipping class to go see that movie, and I saw it 12 times, in the theater.
Wow.
I was just so blown away. I remember with my friends it was so crowded one time, we like sat in the aisle of the movie theater to sit and watch this. They had oversold it, and we just still stayed in there and sat on the ground, to watch this movie. And I was just so blown away by how, and I watched it recently too, and it still holds up. I love that movie, but
it does.
Just so blown away because for me, that was the first time I saw dinosaurs or creatures brought to life in a movie like that. That was like, that made me feel, it felt realistic. And I was like, this is amazing, and I just couldn't get enough of it. And I think, from sometimes people like, you must love dinosaurs. You made all these dinosaur movies. And I do, but I'm not like a guy that's got like, I'm not like a scientific, aficionado of dinosaur, history or anatomy and things like that. I try to talk to people who are better at that than me, when we're designing our dinosaurs and stuff. But, and I like him but I would say my love for dinosaurs is the same as any, young kid who likes dinosaurs, which is just every young kid. So it's just kind of like that same kind of love for it. But, but other movies like in Jurassic Games 2 or Jurassic Games Extinction, there's a whole part where they kind of go into a kind of a Tron inspired level where like sort of an unfinished or a neon kind of level. It kind of looks like your room there a little bit, but that's another thing too, is just like kind of leaning into like, that's another movie that influenced me a lot. But I think that something I always will try to do is do fun world building, where the movies that if you're watching a movie that we get to make, that it's like you're being sort of transported somewhere. And of course, like you're saying, the influences of all the movies I grew up watching and loving, kind of make their way into these.
Jurassic Park's got to be an influence for a lot of people. Like it's definitely a game changer back then and hard to top. So like already you've got Jurassic in the title of the film, Jurassic Games. So automatically people are going to think Jurassic Park when they see it. So it's hard to top. But I was going to say like how you approach making something in this space without being directly compared to that franchise. But going in, you've already got the virtual reality there. So it's already a game changer right there. But how do you think it kind of differs from that?
Let me kind of touch on that a little bit because the first movie when I was approached to make it, all he had was the title. I forgot to mention that, but he's like, hey, I want dinosaurs versus convicts, and I want to call it Jurassic Games. And I'm like, seriously, like Jurassic Park and Hunger Games mixed together, and there's a little bit of like method to the madness of that because they're literally trying to like sort of like sneak in a little bit of this brand confusion, that's it. Where I was even told once, it's like, we're kind of hoping that, grandma goes to the store to pick up the DVD and accidentally buys ours.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit, and that's what I wasn't like. I mean, I get it and I understand what they're doing. And I'm not even going to talk down about it. I mean, I get it, but I think for me as someone who was trying to like, I was like, oh, I have an opportunity here to make something kind of cool. That's kind of why I wanted to add a different twist to it or to make it actually like make sense. And even in the first movie, they kind of allude to is like, man, why are they pick dinosaurs to do this? And, the other character says, oh, because that's what the audience wanted, so that's kind of, a little bit of the tongue in cheek or satire that I sort of like a little bit like of a wink, like, hey, I get it. I mean, I know this thing is called Jurassic Games, and I just sort of like, we're just going to go with it because you know why it's called Jurassic Games? Because it gets people's attention, so that's it. And that's the reason. So, I'm obviously not trying to say that like our movie is like, it's definitely not made with the same type of budgets and crews that, Jurassic Park is made with, but the people that do work on these projects with me, like, everybody works really hard to try to make the best thing we can. So we have a lot of fun, and as time goes on and we get a little bit better at the techniques and the visual effects and the, things get more accessible and stuff, then we'll, go in there and just try to make the best thing we can, and it's a low budget and it's a kind of a labor of love, but it's fun to see that, if people can enjoy it and like it and talk about it, or, if they'll, send out something on social media about like, oh, I saw this and I really thought it was fun or whatever, then that makes me really happy. And then, of course, people go out and say, this is a big pile of crap too. And that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I think just to be clear, we have a lot of fun making it and hopefully people get to have some fun watching it.
I think they will. I'm definitely curious to see what other methods of madness they pitched to you to make, like this and this, clash it together. Actually.
Yeah, it's a kind of a funny world. I did the movie I made before the first Jurassic Games was a movie about a monster. And it was kind of like I was trying to do some early CGI work. And so I thought of an idea of a movie where a monster's inside of a box. And I was like, okay, well, if the monster's in a box most of the time, then I have to just show the box most of the time, and then the box itself can be scary, but then the monster comes out a few times. So then I don't have to do very many visual effects of the monster,
Oh, those are the best movies.
Right. And I pitched that to the sales agent and he said, oh yeah. He goes, well, can you call it Gremlin? And I was like, I mean, you mean like Gremlins? And he's like, well, no, it wouldn't be Gremlins. It would be Gremlin, you know? And I was like, well, let me, and I went on IMDb or whatever and typed it in, and I was like, you're not going to believe it. There's not a movie called Gremlin. So we made it. And then, but then at the end, he, he read the script, and it was funny because he was like, well, can you, I'll never forget this. It made me laugh so much. He was like, can your little monster like have a dad? And I'm like, what do you mean have a dad? And he's like, well, like at the end, he's got like a dad, and he's like a giant one. He's like a giant version of it, because people really like giant monsters, and I'm just like, yes, he can. He can have it. He can. So I figured out a way to kind of get that into the script. And it's funny because like, yeah, like at the time I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work, but then he was right. And it really made all the difference, So it's just more kind of about like, it's sometimes it's like the genre mashups and stuff, but it's also kind of, we're living in a situation where we're making these like movies that are intended for different international markets. And so we're trying to just sort of like put things in there that appeal to everyone, anywhere, and so certain people, giant monsters, attacking people is like pretty universal, no matter what language you speak, so that's kind of why some of that stuff, we do. And I love it too. I mean, it's really fun to do.
I do believe I've seen a film. I'm not sure if it's the one you made. I'm pretty sure it was called Gremlin, and there was like this Cloverfield little monster. It looked like the Cloverfield monster, and it like grew and grew and grew. But was that the movie you made?
That's it. Yeah.
I got to talk about this movie now. I am a massive, I'm one of those Cloverfield fanatics that sit on the internet researching everything Cloverfield. And is there a direct connection there, inspiration to the Cloverfield monster? Because that's what I thought it was. I'm like, this is a Cloverfield movie.
So you see, here's how, that's kind of crazy that you would think that. If I remember correctly, now it's been a while, but when you're a low budget filmmaker doing CGI movies, like there are websites out there where you can like purchase a stock creature the same way you would purchase like stock video or something, so like,
right.
Or stock footage. So you can go on a website and look around and type in creature or something. And then it's like, oh, okay, here's a cool looking creature. And so we, pay a little bit of money for it and download it. And then we kind of go and modify it some. Like I think the one that was the stock version of that had a big tail that we took off and, stuff like that. And then we kind of rig it up and get it ready for our thing. Well, and that was just, it's totally legal to use. It's totally like within the scope of the, the contract of that and everything. But it's, it's very cost effective if you're doing a low budget movie. And that movie was super low budget, right? Well, it turns out, I think someone had pointed out that model, because the website that you buy it from, they don't tell you who the maker of the model is. It's just sort of like an anonymous or something. But somebody reached out and said, oh, hey, by the way, that's so-and-so's model. And so I messaged the guy and said, he was somewhere like in Europe somewhere. And I remember saying like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, we used your model for our movie. It was really cool. And thanks for having it up there. That's it. I mean, I didn't really expect much. And he came back and he said, oh, I'm really glad you got some use for it. And he said, I made that as a concept model for Cloverfield. That is one of the rejected ones. So I was like, cool. And so it didn't get used. It didn't get used. And so he just put it up on the stock thing, hoping he could get some sales on it or something. So I think that's the story, if I remember correctly. But there is a connection in that way, in a very weird way. But it is a connection. But no, I mean, it's not directly tied to the story of the universe or anything. I just thought it was a cool looking creature.
Yeah, I think the arms are the main giveaway for it. How I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, that's just Clover. Not the face, but the whole body, legs. That's Cloverfield. Though it's not a direct ripoff or anything. The movie's completely different and has a terrifying sting to it. Like I walked away from that film loving it. So great work on that. And
thank you.
I think Yeah. That one's definitely one I recommend everyone check out. But before I go way off topic and dive into Cloverfield conspiracies, I think I'll dive back into dinosaurs. So yeah, there has been a growing wave of dinosaur-themed projects recently, like including the Primitive War adaptation here in Australia. Did you keep an eye on those kinds of productions while in development? And do you see them as friendly competition, inspiration, or part of the bigger resurgence of the genre?
Well, I mean, there's we knew that well, at least the United States, the newer Jurassic World movie was being released, and we knew that we would love to release ours around the same time. To get to sort of like, and really, it's not really competition. They're gonna like blow us away as far as that goes. But the idea is that if everyone's got kind of dinosaurs on the brain and they're searching up Jurassic stuff, then hopefully they'll find ours. And when people do reviews and articles, they'll always say, hey, here's all the dinosaur movies that are out, and let's compare them to each other. And it's always super fun to hear what someone will say ours is compared to, Jurassic World. It's really fun to hear them talk about it. I'll honestly say I didn't know much about Primitive War other than a poster that I had seen floating around. And I thought, oh, that's cool. What's that? And then I saw the trailer. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I saw the trailer and it looked awesome. So I'm just happy. I mean, I'm happy that people are into dinosaurs and looking up dinosaur stuff. It kind of reminds me of the very first time that something like this kind of happened. Is the very first movie I made was a movie called Army of Frankensteins, and not Frankenstein's Army, which was also being made at the exact same time by a different guy in a different part of the world. And I had no idea. But I always kind of joke, there's like something in the water because there's like 5 Frankenstein movies all coming out at the same time. And we were getting mentioned, and I could guarantee you that ours was the lowest budget one of all the ones that were being, mentioned out there in the world. But it was really fun. I mean, one of the first memories I have of that is like, Fangoria, an article is asking the director of Frankenstein's Army, he's like, well, have you heard of this movie that's ripping you off called Army of Frankensteins? And he's like, no, I haven't heard of that. And I was just like, oh my gosh, we're mentioned in Fangoria. That's so cool. So I think it's fun. And kind of like, I never get like mad, like, oh man, there's another dinosaur movie's coming out. Oh, they're going to steal our thunder. It's like, no. It's just like, it's the other way around. It's like, I'm happy that, people are into dinosaurs right now. And hopefully that'll give them a chance to check out our project too. And then, compare it and say whatever they want. But I think it's fun.
Yeah, Primitive War is a lot of fun. You got to put that on your watch list for sure.
I plan to.
The third act is just, it's almost stupid, but it's so cool. Like I was like captivated on just how it kept excelling. Like that's something Jurassic Park didn't do that should have done. That's like, I went to see Rebirth and I loved it. But like after that, Primitive War is just like almost topped it. I'm like, how did they do that? That third act is just like, if you're not feeling the first half of Primitive War, stay tuned for the end. Just do it. Like, well, my God.
Now you didn't necessarily make me want to see it just then, because that's what I was hoping I could do, is be better than Jurassic World. But if they can do it and I didn't do it, then I'm mad. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, I want to see it. I'm excited to see. And, it's not just entertainment level. It's also just like technical level. Cause like the stuff that I've seen from the trailers and the images and stuff looks really cool. So I just kind of want to see what they were able to pull off and how their dinosaurs look. And, is because as we do this more and more, it's like, we spent so much time trying to like animate these dinosaurs and put them in there and stuff. So it's always fun to see another attempt. Now, I didn't know Primitive War was based off of is it a comic or is it? Okay. Yeah. So I'll definitely have to check that out.
I think Extinction definitely will have separated itself from, Rebirth and Primitive War, and has the chance to, obviously top that, 'cause I haven't seen it yet. So I'm extremely excited to put it on. So having a giant tidal wave of dinosaurs this month for me is something I wasn't ready for or expecting, but it's kind of like, when Armageddon came out at the cinema, Deep Impact followed. So it's like meteorites everywhere, dinosaurs everywhere.
Yeah. No, when you get a chance to check it out, I'd love to hear your feedback and what you think. And, I'm not, and I'm not even like, fishing for compliments at all. It's just more like, curious what you thought compared to, because everybody, it's so interesting to hear people's different takes, on what worked for them versus what doesn't. And I take, I'm when you're talking about like online criticism of a project, especially if it's a low budget project that could be considered kind of derivative, because people can come at something like Jurassic Games and say, well, these are guys just trying to cash in on the dinosaur craze or whatever. And they're not really trying, or they're not, it's like, well, no, we are trying to make something cool. But also, yeah, I mean, if people are all into dinosaurs and we know dinosaur movies are coming out, we're going to try to time this to be released at the same time. But with the resources we have and the things that kind of go on behind the scenes to pull something together, like a low budget movie that has tons and tons of visual effects in it. I'm always curious to hear if what works and kind of what doesn't for people. And then not just that, but like, were they entertained? Was the story fun for them or whatever? And that's kind of as a filmmaker, right? That's just sort of the elusive thing I'm chasing, is like, I want to try to make something that the audience really has fun and appreciates and likes. So I'm kind of like, okay, if enough people say the same thing, then I'm kind of like, okay, that's a note that I need to remember for next time.
So the film was entirely shot in Oklahoma by your own company. Can you tell me a little bit about shooting in that location?
So we shot, the first Jurassic Games movie, we shot in a bunch of cool locations, real locations all around Oklahoma. And, for someone who's probably never been, to Oklahoma, which I would imagine a lot of your listeners or watchers haven't, but there's a lot of diverse locations there. We have everything from, mountains and forests, and even like a big sandy desert, like the Sahara Desert, and stuff. So we shot in a bunch of locations for the first Jurassic Games. But in the second one, we shot it entirely in an LED volume stage. So kind of like, The Mandalorian and other shows where it's like a virtual production wall, which was kind of a chance for us to really get polished up using that tech and sort of like using the movie itself as kind of like a demonstration for our company to like show like, hey, here's some stuff we can do, with this technology. And I wasn't really planning on shooting the whole movie that way until we started to break it down, and we were like, I think we can shoot the whole movie this way. So we actually did. And it lends itself to it in this situation because, I was able to really like come up with some crazy locations that just weren't possible any other way. There's a whole sequence in this movie where they're heavily inspired, by the Return of the Jedi speeder bike chase. And I always was like, if I get to do another Jurassic Games movie, I want to do one of the games where it's like a speeder bike chase, and
that's cool.
So they're racing. That's kind of what that poster is behind me, right? So they're like being chased by dinosaurs. They like run into power-ups, and they can power up their bikes and power up into dinosaurs and all this fun stuff. But halfway through the race, a volcano erupts and starts to, spew ash and fire onto the forest, and the forest is now on fire. And so like that kind of stuff, I'm not setting a forest on fire in Oklahoma to shoot. So with the virtual stage, we're able to have, a location where actors can, be knocked off their bikes, stand up, have a battle or a confrontation, and all the trees around them are burning and there's fire everywhere. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff that I just couldn't do otherwise, and then likewise, like we'll have a big blizzard scene or a scene inside an endless Tron maze and like, stuff like that, or a big giant Roman Colosseum that is just not really possible to do on practical locations. And I think for the second movie, kind of like I said before, when we're leaning into the video game aspect of it, it was really fun to be able to build more video game style worlds. And that's what virtual production does perfectly.
It sounds absolutely massive, and I can't wait to see it. And I'm very familiar with Oklahoma, especially recently with the new Twisters movie came out. Hell, they even did a song, Ain't No Love in Oklahoma. So like that name kind of rings a bell straight away. I'm thinking of Twisters.
Yeah. They filmed Twisters right before we filmed another dinosaur movie we did for kids called Jurassic Pet 3. And, but we used some of the same locations, and that was really funny because when I saw the Twisters trailer, I was like, whoa, they're like destroying the movie theater or the theater that we used in our movie. So there's a fun little Easter egg in our Jurassic Pet 3 movie where they're in the same theater. And what's kind of cool is that we were shooting there, and we shot inside the theater, and they had like painted it all up and decorated it and just left it all there. Right. So when we talked to the theater owners, we were like, oh, what's all this? And they were like, oh, this is the stuff the Twisters did. They came in and built these things and, painted all this and did all that. And one day as we were scouting the location, I saw on the ground, I picked it up and it was the little like sides, the script for Twisters. That was somebody had dropped on the floor and just left it there. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like a little collector's item. So I thought that's pretty good. But I haven't seen Twisters yet, but I've heard it's pretty good. Did you like it?
How much do you want for the script, by the way? No.
I didn't get to keep it. They didn't let me keep it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm Matt. I seen the original Twister 95 at the drive-in when I was a kid, and it was captivating. So my expectations were through the roof for Twisters. So it fell short in that sense of it was too different. I think it was a little woohoo, like they're trying to be dusty too much. You're not dusty. They were trying to be built. They need to put Helen Hunt in there. Like that's a little spoiler. I know it was impossible to put Bill in there, and Bill was actively pursuing doing a 3D Twister film. There's a few notes on Wikipedia about it. So me reading about that over the years kind of ruined Twisters for me because I had this, I love twisted tornado movies so much that I crave it. So all my expectations are just it's a Twister and they can't match them. Like Into the Storm did kind of well with the tornadoes, but not the acting. So I feel like if they had those tornadoes in Twisters, it could have been better with Helen Hunt. But yeah, it fell short somewhere. I can't even describe it well. Other people enjoyed it. I've still watched it a few times, collected a lot of the stuff. So like, it's not like I hate Twisters, but I wanted what Bill Paxton was working on.
Well, now I feel bad. I really wish I could have kept that little script for you. I would have loved to send that to you. I feel bad now that we were so close. So we were so close to having something. But so I'm curious, did it like, so do you have like this fear of tornadoes?
Not in Australia.
Yeah, I was going to say, because in Australia, you don't get tornadoes, do you?
We actually have been, ironically, for the first time since I've been living here, the last month, we got 2 here last month and then 1 in Sydney last week. Little ones, like F-Zeros, I think you call them, but Oklahoma is like Tornado Alley, isn't it? So you're seeing them all the time?
Well, I mean, having grown up here my whole life, I can tell you that like a local is not really that. I mean, it's not that we don't take it seriously, but like the locals will always like kind of go outside and watch them, Right. But people who come in from out of town to like work on projects or whatever, they'll land in town and they'll be like immediately like, okay, like where's the shelter and is a tornado coming and things like that. But like we shot a movie a few years ago where like 2 tornadoes came and like, shut us down and we had to leave and find shelter and things. So, I've got a storm shelter in my house and, every once in a while there'll be a big one that'll come through the city, right in Oklahoma City in the central part of the state that'll come through and just wipe out a neighborhood and it can be really scary. But the famously the weather people here are like, amazing. And so we always have a lot of advanced warning and, deaths from them are very rare. But man, you're right. They can be, those giant F5 ones that are a mile wide that come down and just like level an entire, like scar the earth and you can like, see it from space kind of thing. That happens every once in a while, but not enough to, for us to move away, I guess.
Right, yeah. That's a question I had. I've always wanted to ask someone living in Tornado Alley specifically is like, how can you live with that knowledge that every year, like you're putting your life at risk with these tornadoes? Like I'm literally Googled, where is Tornado Alley? It's Texas, Oklahoma. So you're second on the list. So it's like a pathway of destruction every year.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a city, there's a suburb south of Oklahoma City called Moore that is, almost gets it the worst. And it's weird. It's like, it just always, when the big bad ones come, they always come right through there, and that's where I'm kind of like, why would you live there, people? But still, yeah, it's weird. It's weird because it's Oklahoma City in this area, it's big and vast. It's not super populated, but it's big,
Right.
I would imagine Australia is similar, where it's like, there's just a lot of land,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's like, even though they're here, they're still kind of like far away, so
I guess,
I would say as an Australian, I bet you understand because Australia seems like the same way. And I bet like Central United States would be.
we can pitch a new movie here, tornadoes and robots. That's the next movie, okay?
Yeah.
How did you approach casting for Jurassic Games Extinction, like especially with new characters and also returning players, if any?
Well, yeah, the two of the characters had to come back for the script that I wrote. I needed to have two of them back. So it was kind of like, if I didn't get them, and if they didn't agree to do it, we were in big trouble,
Yeah.
But luckily they agreed to do it and they were available to do it. But we approached casting just like we normally would, where we put out a casting call with a casting agent, and we had auditions from all over the country, and they submit them, and then our casting agent picks out the ones that are her picks, and then we kind of take a look and make our picks. But I would say that we had them from Los Angeles and New York and Atlanta and Dallas and like all over the place that came in and worked on it. So it was fun to have people from all over. And it's kind of funny because those are the people that would be like, are there tornadoes here? Because they usually never have been to Oklahoma, So, but yeah, they're great. And the main character really in the movie follows a character named Sage, and Layla Anastasia Scott did the audition in a British accent, and it was so good that I thought she was British, and then she shows up and she's just got this like Southern, she's just like the sweetest girl with a Southern American accent. And I was like, wow, your British is really good. But she's great. And so much fun to work with. And, Adam Hampton comes back as Tucker, and we've worked on projects forever. He's super great to work with and just kind of like elevates everybody's, performance. And Katie Burgess's Joy was also returning, and she was kind of a fan favorite from the first movie that people really responded to. And so I thought it'd be fun to bring her back. And then I have, there's Sophie Proctor plays a character named Echo, and she's been in a bunch of projects with us. And Ryan Francis, who he plays the host, and he played young Hook in the movie Hook. So the Robin Williams character, but as a little boy. And I was like, we had fun talking about some of his, like, and he's done a lot of other stuff too, but we had a lot of fun talking about his on-set experience and some of the stuff that he's done in the past, and just a lot, and not just them. I mean, there was a lot. Everybody on the cast was really fun and good. And then I think what was interesting about this project for me, in my opinion, was that when we're shooting on an LED stage, is this going to even work and be believable? Like, are people going to believe that this is real as best, and then B, how will the actors do in this environment? And when we first started shooting the movie, the way the actors were playing it, and I think, in my opinion, kind of bringing it, it kind of elevated everybody. And they were all just like, okay, we trust this process and we trust that this is going to work. And it's, you can imagine it's kind of like a green screen movie. It's a little bit better because you can see a little bit the environment around you. But like, when we started putting it in the edit, I was like really relieved, because to me, I was like, wow, this LED volume is going to work, and these actors are bringing more to it than what was on the page, in my opinion, and really making it fun to watch. And they were putting in some good performances that I thought made it interesting, so I was really grateful to have the cast that we did.
Well, that's crazy about the Hook character there. That would have been nostalgic.
Yeah, I asked him. I mean, not to get too like controversial. I was like, hey man, so like Steven Spielberg was your director, and what was that like? And he goes, oh man, he yelled at me, and I didn't like. And I was like, oh, okay,
that's it. That's
yeah,
it.
I was like, you can't say anything bad about Steven Spielberg. I mean, come on,
Yeah. He gets the job done, doesn't he? So let him yell at you.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, many sci-fi creature action films can sometimes lean into that spectacle than character. How do you ensure the audience cares about the people in the arena, not just the dinosaurs in the action?
That's the exact question that that Adam Hampton asked me, the actor who played Tucker. He's like, hey, I don't know about this because I want to like fight a guy. I don't want to turn into a dinosaur and have my dinosaur fight a guy. I want to fight the guy, you know? And so what we did was, I thought I have got an idea for that, even though this isn't really written in the screenplay, but the idea is to do kind of a Iron Man style control system. And, you know, it's not really necessarily explained on how it works, but the idea is that like when someone turns into a dinosaur, then you can see the person controlling the dinosaur, kind of like Tony Stark and Iron Man, right? And what that did, so we just filmed a bunch of reactions and a bunch of dialogue lines and a bunch of like them like, you know, I know, that kind of thing. And we cut all that into the movie, and it helped tremendously because then it gave a few things. It gave the dinosaurs continued the personality of the human controlling it. And then the animators who animated the dinosaurs also animated the dinosaurs kind of off of the actor's performance of how they were acting as they were being the dinosaur. So it's really, that's another unique thing I thought was fun about this movie, is that when these dinosaurs are fighting each other, they're not necessarily fighting like two primal beasts. They're fighting like dinosaurs that are being controlled by people. And that was really fun. It was really fun to do and really fun to write, because let's say, hey, one character might be really bad at this, and one character might be really aggressive, and one character might be really skilled. And so the dinosaurs can be animated that way, and it can be comical and fun, or it can be like really intense and hopefully, you know, scary and exciting, to give those dinosaurs the characteristics of the humans that are piloting them, you know. And something I wanted to do differently. So in the first movie, it was basically dinosaurs fighting against death row inmates, and the death row inmates were also dangerous to each other. And they were just like little backstories, like, here's just why this guy's a criminal, he's a bad guy, and they just fight each other and they're just bad guys, and they kind of just get eaten. And for this next movie, the story is different, where it's not death row criminals that are playing the game, but it's actually a group of like game testers or developers that are going in to run some diagnostics, and then the game starts on its own, and they're now fighting for their lives. And what I really enjoyed about writing it and doing it this way was that now the characters are forced to play the game, but they don't want to kill each other, and they don't want to have their friends die. So, you know, taking some inspiration from stuff like Squid Games or Alice in Borderland, which I love a lot, you know, is, can you put characters in situations where they have to make impossible choices to either sacrifice their friend or sacrifice themselves or whatever? And that to me was a lot more interesting than just a convict running around getting eaten.
Exactly.
And it was a lot more fun to write that. And I think that hopefully gives the characters a little more interest, and hopefully you like the characters and you're rooting for them. And so when they have to make those choices, you can kind of, you know, be there with them as they do that. And it's kind of like, you know, somebody makes a sacrifice or something, it has some impact. Now, at the end of the day, it's a movie about dinosaurs with lasers on their heads. So you have to factor that in too. Right.
No, it definitely sounds like you got it right there. Like I say, like that spectacle of Into the Storm, they had wild tornadoes, everything going right, but I didn't care about any of the characters in that film. It's like when I watched it the first time, I went to the cinema, high expectations, and it was like I got a high when the twists were there, then I went down when the dialogue came up, and like I almost boycotted the movie to never watch it again, but I gave it another chance, kind of just fast forwarded the dialogue and got to the tornadoes, and then it's such a good movie when you fast forward the dialogue in that movie. But oh God.
When you're doing a low budget movie, you know, you have to fill a certain amount of time, and you don't have the money to fill it all with crazy action. So you have to have some kind of dialogue. You have to have something.
But don't get me wrong. I'm all for dialogue, but it done right, the character selling it, me caring about the character is very important in a film.
Oh, I agree. And it's so, you know, it's something I try to do, is to keep it really, you know, tight, not overly expositional, but then, you know, you get into the edit and you're like, oh man, this scene is just like too long and they're talking too much and I got to cut it down and I got to cut it down. And then it's like, but I can't cut it down because if I do that, the actor goes from, you know, not crying to all of a sudden crying, you know? So it's like they have to, the actor's like building up. So I have to let it stay in there, but it's too long. So like, even as a writer and director myself, when I watch it, I'm like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can't even watch this scene. It's just too long. It's too long, you know? So, I mean, I'm really aware of it. And it's always the, for me personally, like the circular battle of like thinking I'm writing something really powerful and brilliant, watching the actor perform it, and I'm thinking, oh, this is really powerful and brilliant. Then I put it in the edit in the movie, and I'm like, oh my God, it's too long. you know, so.
I'm sure it's fine. And like dialogue's all fine as long as it's, got heart in there and the tension is right. Like I just finished watching the new Extinction movie. That's basically all dialogue for the film. And again, paid off in the third act with just absolute chaos. But the tension, the intimidation, and the characters, you care about them, where they're going, as long as that's written right, I'm hooked. Like it doesn't need tornadoes and dinosaurs with lasers. It's just intimidation, revenge, then guns and blowing up. And,
and like I said, I think in this one, it was like it was really fun to write a story from the perspective of people who were employed by this show. Yeah, and they kind of like in their culture, they're like, hey, in our minds, we're doing something justified. It's like bad guys are getting their comeuppance and they're being executed anyway, so we might as well do it on this show. And they were like, we're just the programmers and we just do our jobs here. But I think through the story, these characters are realizing what we're doing is like messed up, and for us to be here and actually have to take part of it, we realize that what we're doing is wrong. And so again, another thing that was fun to write and to have the characters kind of like make that change and realize that what they were doing was, very questionable and stuff. And, there's, I threw everything in this one. You got the rogue AI that's like going crazy. And so you got the anti-AI message too, because down with AI. So it's like, all the fun stuff that I could put in there, but still try to have something that, makes sense and is fun to watch and isn't boring. That's the real challenge of doing something like this.
One other film comes to mind. Like I know you said like you're trying to get away from convicts in the first film, so making this one all about players and in the VR and just casually entering a game. Another TV show kind of struck my mind. Did it very well. I don't know if you're familiar with Black Mirror, the US Callister. Absolutely mind-blowing, especially the sequel that came out, how they did adapt more like just random players joining their universe. That's tense and brilliant.
I have not seen the sequel yet, but I love the first one. And it makes me think of if I ever get the chance to do a third Jurassic Games, and I haven't said this anywhere else, so I've just been kind of thinking about it, but I want to introduce some kind of an idea like that, where it's like an open world idea, where now it's like anyone, like imagine the idea that you could log on as a player and go and fight the person that like murdered your wife or something, that is and then of course there's dinosaurs somehow, but like that's something that I toyed with too, is like I love the idea that like they've expanded it to this like, well, it's not just a TV show anymore, it's an open world game where you can like come in and participate. So I'm thinking and sort of toying around with that, but if I get to make a third one, that's probably the direction I go. You heard it here first. You got the scoop.
That's great. Well, yeah, it's kind of like a Ready Player One universe, I guess. And I hope that like that movie, I hope that becomes a reality. Not how the Earth turns out, because that's just devastating. But having an open world, you can just go in casually. And Parzival, I think his name is in the movie. It's just me. Like I would get a DeLorean straight away. I'm a Back to Future fanatic. So like that film
I love that movie, and I love the book too. Have you read the book for Ready Player One?
No, I haven't, but I heard there's a sequel book, Ready Player Two, and I hope they make it to a movie.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Well, you defeated my last question. Do you see Jurassic Games continuing into a third film? So I guess there's a possibility there.
Right now, it's just a thought in the back of my head. I would love to do it. But there were 7 years between the first one and the second one. And I just never really like, after we made the first one and it did what it did, I was like, oh man, hopefully I get to make another one day. And it really took us like 7 years to get to that point. So I hope it doesn't take 7 years to do it again. I would love to do it sooner than later. And it really just kind of like, it just kind of boils down to the demand, and it takes a little while to see if, as it kind of goes around the world to different territories and is released, to see if there's enough people that enjoy it and watch it, then, it gets people excited about potentially. I'm totally excited about making another one, and I've got ideas for it. And, I even went on, it was Twitter back then, but I was like, hey, if I'm writing a Jurassic Games 2, like what would you guys want? And people gave me all kinds of fun ideas, kind of fun ideas. So I think that's really cool, and I'd probably do the same thing. But I'm not out there trying to achieve necessarily high art. I even hesitate to call it a film. It's a movie, and it's meant to be something that's just laughed with, had fun with, maybe like groan and cheer and just be like, what did I just watch kind of thing. I mean, that's what I'm hoping people get out of it. And, a lot of heart went into making it with the small team that put it all together. And I've been told that comes through. And that's kind of the best, I think, compliment that I could receive from it, is that people look at it and say, yeah, I get it. It's a low budget. It's a indie movie, but I can see that the people who made it like really cared a lot and tried really hard. And that's what we did. So if that's what, if enough people feel that way, then we'll get to make another one, and that'd be really fun.
Sounds like something we're all desperate to check out, especially myself after having this chat with you. And especially to refresh on the first one, which has came out. And to be fair, like that came out pre-COVID. So like that big gap there probably had a lot to do with that as well. So a lot of films missed their kind of window.
So. Well, I think in Australia, the first Jurassic Games movie was relatively recent there. So it might have been a few years after it had its run in the United States. I'm not sure, but that's what I understood anyway. But
when it comes to big budgets, we're usually in sync with America's releases. But yeah, independents, they fall short sometimes months. Yeah, so it's pretty hard for us to get indies down here.
Well, hey, I'm glad. The distributor, I think, is Eagle in Australia, and I'm just very grateful that they took a chance on both the movies and are allowing them to get out there. I'm really excited about that. So I hope the people in Australia have fun, and I hope I get to come to Australia. I'd love to. What's it like there? If I go to Australia, if I make a trip to Australia with my wife, where would I go? Like, tell me what to do. Where should I go? What's your recommendation?
Well, I'm from Adelaide, South Australia, which is down the bottom middle. It's they call it the 20-minute city, so it's very quickly simple. I like it that. So like my mind kind of blew once I started traveling, but they say the tourist attraction is Brisbane, Queensland's Gold Coast, best beaches, all the theme parks are there. There's the Crocodile Hunters Zoo is there, so his kids run that. So that's like the tourist spot, the more luxury spot. Even I vacation there sometimes. There's Movie World there, Warner Brothers. Sydney's another spot, far as I know. That's probably the only tourist spot. So I'd say Queensland is where you're going to go.
You're just saying stay away from where you are, though, right?
If you want to be bored. Well, buddy, here at Movieland, we love recommending movies. So can you give us 6 movies you'd like us to watch? Old, new, sky's the limit.
I just watched Memoirs of a Geisha. Have you seen that?
No.
You haven't seen Memoirs of a Geisha?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, watch that. I watched it recently with my wife, and I was like, wow, this cinematography is amazing. And then I look it up and it's like, oh yeah, it won the Oscar that year for best cinematography. So it's a really, really good movie. And then after that, we were kind of on that feel, and we watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Have you watched that?
No, but I'm aware of it.
Okay, that's another one. It's another amazing, based on like Chinese history and unbelievable like kung fu and crazy acrobatics and amazing fight sequences. I loved it. I really enjoyed Weapons. Saw that in the theater recently.
I'm still off like a high from that, trying to like, and there's some people that are online disagreeing with it. I'm like, how can you not appreciate that film? Especially again, the third acts of these films lately just blow my mind. Yeah,
I was just so unsettled by that movie and loved it so much. And I think what it was for me that was like off, but I loved it, was when the kids were, I don't know if I should spoil it, but when the kids are running at the end in the third act and they're laughing, or the way they sound or the way they're screaming, it was just like kind of weird. But I was like, this is weird, but it almost seems funny, but I loved it, so, but that's a great movie. And the acting in that movie was awesome. And the nonlinear storytelling and everything about it. I just watched that movie thinking, man, what would I've loved to made this movie. Sinners was really good. Did you like that one?
Yes. I was going to bring it up. I was like, actually, yeah, that's again, cinematography. When you're talking about that, I'm like, that's cinematography and the performance and everything.
I love Sinners. I'm a sucker for a good, like, vampire
Mm.
vampire movie, but talking about, like, I mean, I love old vampire movies now that I think about it. Are
Yeah,
you kind of like versed on the old school, like, The
Lost
Lost
Boys.
Boys?
Lost
You know,
Boys, yes.
I freaking love The Gilded Age. Do you watch
Mm.
that on
No, I haven't heard
HBO?
that one.
Oh, it's just like a period drama, but set in like New York City in the like 1905, and it's about the rich society of the people who sort of built America, and it's so good. Great drama, but it's a TV show. Let me see, what else have I seen recently? I saw Elio,
Yeah, I
the
watched that the other day too.
the Pixar movie, and I know it got a little bit of hate, but I liked it. What did you think about it?
So. I wasn't
Yeah.
entirely impressed. What was the most recent child film that blew my mind? Last Wish, Puss in Boots. I did not want to watch it, but I'm still thinking about it 2 years ago, 2 years later. So I'm like, yeah, the villain in that film and everything. Like, I'm a big Shrek fan, but like, just Puss in Boots movie by itself, I was like, But Antonio Banderas, like desperado, so I gave it a shot, and wow, that movie's great. Definitely recommend it.
Here's another totally random one that I saw recently, and I'm not even sure why. It was the old Disney Peter Pan cartoon
Right,
movie.
I haven't seen it. I've actually never seen it.
Oh, really? Really?
No.
I was like, well, okay. We watched. So our studio did a little bit of work on the movie Bambi: The Reckoning. Have you heard of that? It's like
No. Oh,
yeah,
right,
it's
that new violent one. Yeah, I've heard of it, but yeah,
it's from the same guys who did the Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and that
right.
stuff. They did a movie called Bambi: The Reckoning, and we at our studio we did the deer, so we did the Bambi CGI deer for that movie.
Cool.
And so for my wife and I were like, we should watch the real Bambi just to see what it is, because I haven't seen it forever. Have you
Yeah.
watched that recently, like the old Bambi from?
Again, that's one I've seen bits and pieces. Like when you say those old Disney films, I probably owned 3 or 4 of them when I was younger, and I just watched those on like some from the video store era days. I only had a couple of tapes.
Yeah, and I hadn't watched them since then either. And so I watched Bambi recently, the original, and I was like, that is an interesting movie because nothing happens. Nothing.
Right. Nothing.
Nothing happens in that movie. I mean,
There's
a little
no
bit.
plot.
I guess not. No, it's just like it almost to me felt like I was watching like a National Geographic, like someone like watching deers. It was interesting. I don't know. But but when we're talking about Peter Pan, I really got a kick out of Captain Hook being chased by the crocodile, and I'm sure you're familiar with that, but that was cracking me up.
Like you bring up Hook, like that's my interpretation of Peter Pan growing up.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess you gotta. For some reason, I was into Disney movies a lot this week, but yeah, I mean that's a very weird list. I think I hit 6 or more. I'm enjoying the Alien show. Have you been watching that? Alien Earth?
Yeah, I've watched the first episode. Freaking loved Alien Romulus, by the way. Like,
Oh yeah. The new TV show is pretty interesting, and I was kind of like showing my wife some of these movies, and we watched Prey. Have you seen that one? The Predator.
Prey's brilliant.
And so we watched that, and that was the first. Oh, and what's the animated Predator? What was that called?
It was Killer of Killers. So did you see that one?
That was awesome.
God,
awesome.
yes. Like I was speechless. I was like, kind of like, I don't know. I can't even explain it. Like it was like something I was just like, yeah, that could be okay. But wow, like each story was more better than the next. And I just couldn't, like I said earlier, I couldn't not get enough. I had to watch Prey directly after it. And this was already 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm up to 3 o'clock watching Prey. I'm like, give me more Predator. Badlands is coming out, by the way. Can't wait for that now.
I can't wait.
Same director behind Prey and Killer of Killers, Dan Trachtenberg, who also did 10 Cloverfield Lane. He knows what he's doing. I got absolute faith.
Well, as my wife and I were watching Prey and the animated Predator, I was like, we ought to watch the very first one. So we went back and watched the original one, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's awesome, man. That movie is awesome. I don't know. Have you seen it?
Oh, absolutely. But
you don't think it's awesome?
Yeah, oh, no, I do. All of the Predators, all of them are great, but people hate me for saying this. My favorite Predator is Predators, the one
Sequel, the
with
second,
no, not the
Adrian
second,
Brody.
the Adrian Brody. That's the third
Yeah,
film, I believe. Yeah, that film. I've watched it more than all of them. I
really.
don't know why. Love it.
Well, I mean, I get it. That's got a kind of a cool vibe and look to it.
Mm.
But going back and watching the original, I was like, because it's weird to watch Prey and not have seen the original Arnold one, right? So we
Oh
had to go
yeah.
back and watch that, and she was like, oh, I kind of like that one better. And I was like, well, yeah, it's the
Oh,
first,
oh,
but man,
it obviously is better than Predators and all of the above, but I just rewatch Predators the most because it's more fun, I think. And Predator is a slow burn, cat and mouse kind of game. It is great.
memories I have of going to the theater, and this would have been in 1985. As my uncle took me to see a double feature, and it was Back to the Future and Teen Wolf.
Right, cool.
And I saw both of those in the theater, and so both of them hold a special place. But nothing, no, I mean, Teen Wolf has nothing on Back to the Future, but I mean,
No.
yeah, I love those movies. Such great
Yeah.
storytelling and cool. I love time. I'm sure it inspired my movie Army of Frankensteins was a time travel movie. So it's super fun to do time travel stories. I love it.
Yeah, it's an iconic film. They don't make it like that anymore.
When you say they don't make them like that anymore, it kind of like, I'm kind of starting to see things in films where it's just like, man, sometimes these movies are just like too big, and there's just like too much, and there's like so much to keep track of. And, I could talk about maybe like, the new Superman, for example, or, what going in and being like, I'm almost feeling like kind of overwhelmed, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older or something, but it's like, I'm almost kind of like, kind of yearning for a little more nostalgic kind of slow burn kind of thing. It's like, I'm kind of okay with like letting this thing, like, it doesn't have to have every villain and every scenario and every problem, and it can just be like kind of simple. And it's interesting how I'm kind of like leaning more towards that. Now you're going to watch Jurassic Games Extinction and say you don't listen to your own advice, man, but but maybe that's why, because I like did that and lived it, and now I'm just like, hey, I need the simple things in life.
Too much crazy going on. But now cinema has been saturated with like superheroes and like especially Marvel for the last like 5 years. And I think that was the core like success of cinema, but that and kids films are owning the box office. But I get you. I like those simple, not so crazy films. Even Sinners kind of sits in that category because
And Weapons too, I think Weapons does too. Yeah.
It's more story and character driven rather than explosions and scope
Spectacle,
of
right.
spectacle. Yeah. So that's something I'm more connected with, and put those two, Weapons and Sinners, as like movie of the year almost for me. So I'm struggling which one to put first.
Right. I kind of agree with that. But you know what? It gets me thinking. It's like, but don't like take away spectacle. Just do it, like do both.
Oh yeah.
And when I'm thinking back to like movies that defined my love for movies, I got to think of like the Lord of the Rings movies, right?
Yeah.
And to me, those were spectacle and story, and it had like everything, and I think I watched those things on repeat, for forever. And then I'd watch the 5 hours of like special behind the scenes features and stuff because I just couldn't get enough of it. But
I'm a special features guy too. Got all the box sets behind me.
Man, and I wanted to put special features of Jurassic Games on the DVD, but unfortunately I couldn't because I just didn't have time. But people are always kind of like, hey, how come you don't like edit together a blooper reel and everything? I was like, because I had to edit the movie. I didn't have time. But yeah, I love special features and behind the scenes stuff too. And again, waxing about kind of like the old stuff. I kind of miss like it looks like you got quite a collection back there of like physical media. I love it, and I kind of miss it. And I don't know what it's like in Australia, but here the days are totally gone where it'd be Friday night, you'd go to their movie rental place, pick up a few movies, get some candy and soda, and sit there and watch movies over the weekend. And those are some great memories for me. And I just don't think that it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm a ex-video store employee. It's funny, the Movieland was actually a video store franchise in Australia in 1982 to 2002, and then it died off. My dream when I was growing up was to work there, but it closed when I was old enough to work there and transformed to Blockbuster. So I ended up working at Blockbuster until that closed. And years down the track, I did some Googling trying to find out anything about Movieland because I missed it. It just reminds me of my mom and friends, weekends at the video store, and did some Googling. It's like it got erased from existence. Doc, quoting Doc. There was nothing on Google about it. Nothing. There was not who made it. Couldn't find even the logo. So like I did a lot of digging and tracked down the original owner and pitched him an idea to rebuild a website to like pay tribute to the video store. You know, I'm in it to promote movies, talk about movies because I love talking about movies. I mean, you could probably get that from this, and not just that, to keep the legacy of the video store alive, running in a different shape. I know I can't rent videotapes out anymore or DVDs, but doing it this way is probably the best way I can do it, and it makes me happy seeing it because it's nostalgia for one, and I think there's a lot of people in Australia that connect with it too because it was pretty big. There's 145 stores in Australia, all around Australia. So it was pretty big back in the 90s till its peak.
Well, okay, so I definitely should be interviewing you because that is the best story of this whole thing. I love that. That's really great. That's really great. Well, it explains the logo and everything. And I got to tell you, we have that in common. I worked at Blockbuster Video too, so not very long, but I was an employee at Blockbuster and really loved it. And yeah, I mean, for the same reasons, you know, just like talking to people about movies and recommending movies and all that stuff. And it's just like, but even more was like I said, the memory of going to a place like Blockbuster or Movieland and have Movieland here, but you know what I mean? And going in there and just, you know, I hope, maybe I'm crazy, but maybe I really hope that like, people can find a way to fall in love with that again somehow and, you know, have the same kind of experience where, and I've seen people talking about it, how, you know, the movie industry is weird, you know, and like the streaming, somebody said, you know, all of our eggs are in the streaming basket right now. And, you know, it's hard for movies to make money that way, unless it's a giant blockbuster, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that for hopefully, you know, as we're going up and down on like the history of like how movies are consumed, that we can make another swing back toward physical media and, you know, people having collections and people, you know, sharing their love for movies that way. That'd be great. I mean, I gotta be honest, man, you know, one of the highlights of my whole life was when we made our first movie and it was released on Blu-ray and I could go to the shop, you know, and walk in there and it's on the shelf. And I just was like, I can't believe this is so cool. You know, to have this thing in my hand, that's like a physical thing that we made, you know, is like, what a really neat feeling, you know, and you just lose a lot of that with having it only available digitally.
Jurassic Games Extinction is now available on DVD in Australia. Looking forward to seeing it. And I got to thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you and wish you all the best with it and all your future work, buddy.
I appreciate you so much. It's a real pleasure talking to you and get to know you a little bit, and good luck on your show and everything with Movieland. What a cool story. I appreciate you. And the kids will never know.